Hey guys, Sundown here. This is going to be my chapter review to Nanatsu no Taizai, or the 7 Deadly Sins 282, Galvez versus Maya. Now hopefully I've got the right mic selected this time. I think my last video was my laptop's microphone, which is a bit, you heard it, it's a bit messed, but hopefully it's the right microphone this time. It should be this one, I hope. So yeah, getting on to this chapter. Awesome chapter as per usual. Nakaba's been going in. I haven't done the last 2-3 chapters where King does his whole transformation. He gets the quiff and you're just like, yo, the shit. Is this King? And he just went in. I mean, King was insanely powerful. I think you probably hear the wind, but King was insanely powerful. I mean, this guy demolished Mael for jokes. He just bit slapped him back to wherever he came from, and he was like, get off my case. I was like, King is insane, and like he's probably one of the top ranked fighters at this moment. I mean, like he's going to be below Meliodas with his 5 commandments, you'd assume. But you have to remember, Mael had 4 commandments without his grace, so that's a big factor. But without his grace, and he was able to body him for jokes easily. He just absolutely demolished him, and I was like, King, he uses multiple forms of Chastity-Fall. That's another thing for another time. But yeah, it's such an awesome progression for King. I was a little bit annoyed by how quickly it came along. I got notifications all over the place by how quickly it happened. I mean, like, it was King, he sees Oslo die, and then his wings just burst out, and he's like, yeah, okay, I'm gonna whip your ass now. It seemed very Dragon Ball Super-ish, like, there's just a new form, and I was like, okay, that was a bit, I'm not too sure if I liked that, but we knew that King was gonna get some sort of progression like this anyway. I just felt it happened a little too suddenly. Anyway, we start with Galvez and Mael in freefall. King flying after them whilst everyone else is just kind of worrying about, like, oh my god, they're about to crash into the ground and stuff like that. So King decides to let Galvez do his thing. He's like, I think we should just let him carry on doing his thing. He's invading his mind right now because he was afraid that he might actually undo Galvez's spell in Mael's critical stages of life. And I think King actually really wanted Mael to make it out of this alive, because he'd be another strong ally in their favor. So he really wanted to see if Mael could actually make it, and if Galvez could change his condition. So then with Galvez, we dive into the rolling fields of Mael's psyche, where he sits alone upon a hill, gazing upon the clouds in the distance, remembering a time when he wasn't so broken. And Mael has accepted his fate. He's just sat there feeling he deserves it for all the lives he's taken and stuff like that. He's like, yeah, I'm about to die. I'm about to basically turn into nothing, but it's cool. I know what I've done, and I've seen everything that I've been doing for the last 3,000 years, and prior to that as well. So Galvez just tells him, he's like, bro, you need to let yourself be saved. Don't go further into this, like, into the darkness, essentially. It's a very, very kind of, this whole chapter was very, if people have been through depression, which thankfully I haven't, but it kind of gives me that kind of idea of that's probably how depression feels like. I wouldn't know. Let me know what you guys think about that. So yeah, and Galvez is like, you need to let yourself be saved. You need to get out of this. And Miles just along the lines of, he's like, no, I don't deserve to be saved. Nobody wants me back. So Miles believes that no one's waiting for him, that his brethren, his allies, even his piety have abandoned him due to the darkness which has consumed his life, which has consumed his soul. So we then get a very clear representation of the consuming nature of the commandments, and this is why I was saying it was kind of very reminiscent of what I imagine depression to be like. This very consuming, all-encompassing kind of feeling, and like we have these four quicksand-like monsters that envelop both Galvez and Miles. So it's very, very all-encompassing and very, like, it's a very sinking feeling by the looks of things. So they threaten to devour Galvez, who verbally bit slaps them and says, he's just like, you ain't gonna do shit. So Galvez continues to plead Mael to live, wanting to right some of his own wrongs on Mael's life, because he has essentially caused Mael's life to go into this screwed up situation. And he tells Mael that he can banish the commandments so long as he desires to live. And this, once again, just kind of struck a wrong chord with me. It sounded very fairy tale-ish, like, you just need to desire to live and it will be so. And I'm just like, Nanatsu no Taizai is usually better written than that. And it's not usually a case of you just have to desire it and it will be so. I don't really like that explanation in anything, but that's the explanation we're given, so I'll accept that just this one time. But Mile, obviously, he wants to know the truth. He's like, you know what, you gave me a bullshit excuse beforehand as to why you chose me to end the war. Why was I chosen as the person to kind of switch sides, and then because of my switch, the war was going to end? Because if there were other people, you'd assume that Galtha would have chosen them. But Mile actually brings up a good point. He's like, why was I chosen instead of Rudusiel, who is his older brother, but also someone who could have changed the tide of the war? And even Elizabeth, he says, could have actually, if she'd switched sides, that would have also changed the tide of the war, especially considering Miles' feelings towards us. So that would have been a completely different ball game. So why was he chosen instead of these two people, and why specifically him? So Galtha first clarifies that he is not the same Galtha who instilled this fate, or bestowed this fate upon Mile. And then he tells Mile that he should remember his face. He should remember Dal Galtha's face from somewhere. So then we get this kind of flashback within this psyche, where we see Mile as the angel of death, going around killing what looks to be civilians of the demon race. None of them are armed, so they're literally just civilians. Like, they shouldn't be involved in the fight, but Miles is going around murdering the crap out of them. So we see kind of Mile reciting the words of this indoctrination, and we see him that he's freeing these souls from their cages of impurity. These are the words he's saying, that they need not be frightened, that he'll pray that they will be kind of reborn anew. And I was just like, yeah, this guy is actually crazy. Like, he was indoctrinated to such an extent where independent thinking had left his mind, and he was just like, yeah, this is cool. I'm freeing these souls of their impure cages, of their impure bodies, and they're going to be reborn, and everything's going to be cushy. And I'm just like, you're crazy. You're actually crazy. So during this massacre, we see a lady with Galtha's face, and this is like, we've been waiting for this, essentially, to see who Galtha was modeled after, and we knew that it was after original Galtha's kind of lover. So we see her for the first time, I think. And it's this lady with Galtha's face who is also killed by Mile. And before she dies, through her tears, she wishes that she could have seen Galtha one more time, obviously talking about original Galtha, or OG Galtha. And we see OG Galtha with his like original hairstyle. He's got like long black hair, and he's got this like fringe kind of thing going on, and he looks awesome. Because I thought when we saw Galtha in his wheelchair, he had blonde hair. I can't really remember. I've only read through the Galtha part once, but I thought he had blonde hair. That might just be me. So Mile then comes back to the present after having remembered this face of this lady he killed, and he's like, what the hell? Like, how is that you? And Galtha's like, that's not me. I'm a doll modeled after this demon. And Miles is there in shock. He comes back to the present in shock, and he's told that the lady he killed was Galtha's, or OG Galtha's beloved, Glariza. So Mile looks to be, like I said, in shock, but his shaking hand stills itself as his negative thoughts kind of come to a halt. You know, he's like thinking, why me? Why am I the unlucky one? Why did it have to be me? And then they just stop, and his hand just stops shaking. So Galtha is then suddenly ejected out of Miles' psyche, having outstayed his welcome, really. And the commandments once again smother Mile. But this time he says something new, which really, really, like, I was like, yes, it's gonna happen. So he says, there's a limit even to foolishness, but the foolishness was my own. So I think it's here that Mile realizes that it was never just him that was unlucky, that was unfortunate, that lost important things due to warfare. It happens to everyone. And just having seen these things from another person's perspective, and realizing that he was the direct cause of someone else's kind of depressive state, because they'd lost someone very important to them as well, he kind of finally understands that he's not the only one that's gone through something, that's lost everything due to war or due to being manipulated or anything like that. He's not the only one. He's not alone. So the reason why he was chosen is because he blindly murdered another man's wife, which was Galtha's wife. So he's just lucky that he didn't murder John Wick's dog. I mean, like, he murdered King's dog, but if that was John Wick, bro, you'd be dead. So with his heart and his mind finally understanding everything that's happened, he yells, "Begone, thought," and the commandments are vaporized from within Miles' body. So come back to the real world. Galtha is still in freefall. King is too far to do anything. I'm not sure what he was doing. Was he just chilling in the air looking at Diane or something? I mean, like, he was flying behind them, and he has enough speed to make up that ground now. So don't bullshit me. I don't know what King was doing. And everyone is shitting their pants, thinking that Galtha and Mile are about to crash into the floor and look like tomato soup. And suddenly, wings of pure white unfurl. A strong grip prevents Galtha from plummeting towards his death, And then we have the Angel of Death saving the life of Galtha, the name of the person who once stole his life and whose life he once stole as well. So it kind of brings this whole situation to a nice kind of end, and it gives it a nice conclusion. And Elizabeth cries tears of joy, and Mile has made his return. So I really thought that was a nice way to end it. I hope you can't pick that up on the mic, but yeah. So I really liked how that ended. I really liked the whole conclusion of this event with Mile coming back, realizing that it wasn't just him that had lost things, that OG Galtha had lost things, that this Galtha has lost things, and everything like that. So it was a really nice way to end it. And that was the chapter. I'd rate it about an 8.5 out of 10. Really good chapter, solid chapter. And Mile has made his return, which is the key part, and he's going to be a key figure in trying to stop the crazy Meliodas. So let me know what you guys thought of this chapter. Let me know what you guys thought of this review, and let me know if the mic is the right mic. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll see you guys in a bit.